Before I begin, I think it's worthwhile reiterating and reminding everyone about the way fares are being reviewed and adjusted in Singapore. We do have our fare review formula. For those of you who have been covering this, you'll be very familiar. There are two elements that we monitor: the CPI, the delta, the movement in it, and the wage index. So it's 0.5 of CPI plus 0.5 of the WI, and a clawback for productivity gains of 1.5. And that's the fare formula that determines the ceiling, the maximum by which fares could be adjusted, either upwards or downwards if it happens to be a negative. We have the fare formula to protect the interests of the consumers, in the sense that, you know, in any operations there's a whole list of expenses that fluctuates. One of which obviously is fuel costs. In the last few years, you know that fuel has been fluctuating, going to extreme highs. And because we are not on a cost-plus basis, there's no danger of costs being passed on every time when fuel costs hit a new high and things like that. We just follow the fare formula. We allow it to be reflected in the consumer price index before any adjustment comes in. Almost every time when we ask them or we tighten on the quality standards, they have to put more buses, more costs, more everything. These are not passed on to the consumers. So once you look at it holistically, to avoid all those unnecessary adjustments which will happen because of spikes in costs, we have this fare formula which we look at once a year, and the consumers have total peace of mind that whatever cost is incurred during the year is not automatically passed on. We just make reference to CPI, WI. Once you appreciate that, then you will realize that the fare formula is something that we need to make reference to be fair to all parties, to find that balance between the interests of the operators and the consumers. We cannot during the year just say, look, don't come and talk to me about fuel prices, and then when it comes to review, we say, forget about the fare formula. It cannot be that way. Having said that, when we look at the formula, and I think many of you actually have worked it out yourself, because CPI is known, WI is known, and the answer, the ceiling for this year is 2.8% adjustment, which means the revenue in total of operators can go up by 2.8%. So having said that, in the balance, in principle, one should really look at it and say, okay, the fares can go up to the extent where revenue of operators can be increased by up to and not exceeding 2.8%. But as mentioned in previous years, the PTC do not just apply the fare formula blindly on its own. We do also look at affordability factor. We track that, and that is expressed as the percentage of household income that is spent on transport. We track the second quintile. And for the last few years, it's been encouraging. It has been improving, meaning a lower percentage of household income for the second quintile is actually expended on transport, which means, in spite of the changes over the years, it has remained affordable. It has not taken up more of the household income. In addition to that, we also have reality check. We look at whether the profitability of the operators is within range of the industry itself. As a reminder, for those who were not around to cover the 2007 fare review, in that particular year, we approved an increase in bus fare, but we denied any changes to the train fares. Well, this year, a lot of things have been happening. As you're aware, the fare review exercise has been deferred to today to coincide with the opening of stages 4 and 5 of the Circle Line, or known as CCL 4 and 5, so that commuters will only see one round of fare adjustments. This week, Minister Liu Tak Yu actually announced that the CCL 4 and 5 will open on 8th of October 2011. And with more stations available, what it really means is connectivity has improved, and inevitably some commuters will benefit from this enhanced connectivity. The travel patterns will change, choices of routes will change, and we have to give it time for it to settle down to see what the impact of it will be. Taking all that in the backdrop, we will now announce to you the decision of the Council after much deliberation. Although the fare formula has indicated that the ceiling should be 2.8%, but we are also aware in the recent months, recent weeks, inflation has crept up. We've been receiving feedback from commuters about various things, and we are hard-pressed to say that we should award the full 2.8%. After taking everything in the balance, we decided to cap it at 1% for this year, which is significantly lower than the 2.8% allowed under the fare formula, which the PTOs had applied for. In doing so, the Council has kept the quantum of fare adjustment small for the commuters, thereby minimizing the impact on the commuters. No doubt there will be impact on the commuters. Any increase, whether it's 1 cent or more, will have an impact on commuters. So, whilst we have kept it at 1%, we wanted to also see how we can help at least one sector of the commuters. And for a number of years now, we've been hearing requests, especially with a growing number of senior citizens in Singapore. And we have focused on the senior citizens group. The PTOs actually have extended senior citizens concession hours to full-day concession throughout the week, and at the same time reduce senior citizens' differentiated fare structure on the NEL and CCL. So there are only 4 cents. So there is only 4 cents more than their basic rail fares. Why do we focus on this? We are encouraging more people to continue working. So you're going to find more senior citizens working. We've heard feedback that sometimes the transport cost can take up quite a fair bit of the salary that they earn. So we think this will be very helpful for senior citizens, because while we encourage them to remain active, to go out, even if it's not work, to remain active, we must find a way to help them. Nonetheless, having said that, and focusing on senior citizens, we do recognize that there will be a segment of low-income families who will need additional help. I understand that help will be available from the government's public transport fund. For greater details, I will now hand you over to Eugene Tan, our secretary, who will take you through this year's fare adjustments in greater detail, and I will handle your questions at the end of the presentation.